And that's really what we're here today to kind of dive into, to look at the power that mindfulness has and this concept of, the power of the pause. How do we use these tools to really hone in on all the things that we know are important? So, a lot of times we hear about people, but I want you to really know why I'm so passionate about this. So, you see in the slide here, that's my crew. I have 3 teenage boys, and they keep me very busy. And probably, um, I often refer to them as my teachers. My middle son there, who has the flannel shirt on, he was diagnosed autistic at 3, and that's really what inspired me to start exploring meditation and mindfulness. If you asked me prior to that, I'd be like, who has time for any of that stuff, right? I was a busy mom. I was a school teacher. My last career was in education. I have my principal's certificate, and that was kind of the path I was going down. And when Kyle was diagnosed, uh, our life kind of turned upside down, and started to find strategies for him to help regulate, and also for me to find ways to manage my stress, right? And we all have stress in our lives. At different points of our lives, it's a little bit more than others. But a huge part of this work is not thinking that mindfulness is going to take that stress away, but understanding how to manage it. So, these guys are a big part of that journey. When I started to explore mindfulness, I really, it's the math and science, it's the numbers that woke me up to saying there's something here. So let's start with a little activity. I'd love for you, if you can either do it in the chat or you can come off mute. If you have a piece of paper and a pencil, you can even write it down. But I want you to, without overthinking it, because if you pause and you think through it, it's not as powerful of an activity. Just the first word that comes to mind when you hear this word, meditation. First word that comes to mind. All right. Calm, focused, Zen, not anxious, balance. Okay, present. Love it. Has anyone tried to have, or, tried to meditate in the past, or, maybe it's good for you, but haven't really been able to develop a consistent practice? Anyone fall in that category? If someone asked me to do this activity, like I said, before my life kind of turned, I would say meditation is hard because I had the idea of what it was incorrect. And that's what we really want to explore today. So before we go into that, let me just kind of give you an overview. Jen mentioned before, at Meditation for Leadership, we believe that a mindfulness practice will enhance these 4 key areas of your life. And where focus is at work, right? How does this how do these tools make you more aware, right? And how does that impact how you lead, how you show up? We focus on work, but this work can't be kept in a box, right? What makes you a better leader also makes you a better human being. So how does a mindfulness practice help you develop awareness? How does it help you connect? Really listen to your team, hear what they're saying so they feel heard, seen, and understood. How does it allow you to shift perspective or maintain perspective among the chaos or the stress of everyday life? And then how does a meditation and mindfulness practice help you achieve your greatest potential as a leader in your industry? So that's a little bit of the work that we do. But what we're going to focus on today is really the foundational piece. If you see underneath each of those 4 pillars, there's a foundation. And the foundational work has to be explored before we can really start to see results and develop a practice. What is meditation and what isn't? And that's what our agenda will look like today. We'll start with a meditation. The best way to understand this work is to dive right in. We're going to start with a little meditation. We're going to explore what it is, what it isn't, and look at the science. What does the science tell us, and how can we use that to make small changes that make a big impact? We're going to explore a couple different things that you can try out in the meantime before that next session, and give you some tangible tips on creating a change or a shift in your day-to-day. We will also follow up with a digital resource. So don't worry about taking notes. You can write some things down, but you're going to get a PDF of lots of resources from all the things that we talk about in today's session. So let's start. Go ahead, if you have shoes on, take them off. You want to climb up on your desk, cross your legs, and do this with your fingers. No, you do not have to do that. Just making sure you're paying attention. I got some smiles. Okay. This is one of the problems, right? We hear the word meditation and we see, an image like this. And the truth is, can you do that? Can you sit cross-legged? Sure. Can you do a mudra? That's called a mudra with your hands? Of course. But you don't have to do any of that. And sometimes these images of someone looking super peaceful can scare us away. So meditation is not always peaceful and easy. We're going to try it together. It's going to be a very brief meditation. So I want you to just sit up tall wherever you are in a chair. You want to try not to lean back, because what's going to happen if you lean back and close your eyes? Jen, you want to take a wild guess? What's going to
I will go to sleep because I have a few hours every day. I will go to sleep.
Most of us fall in that category, right? So we want to sit upright, and that's just the reason, right? We don't want to get too comfortable. You want to find a seat where you can be still, but not doze off. So sit up nice and tall. I find it helpful to kind of take some stretches in my neck, or if I've been sitting at my desk for a long time, maybe even a little twist in my spine. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can just kind of look down at your desk. The idea that we don't want to focus on the external. We're going to start to make this shift to an internal awareness. So whether you close your eyes or lower your gaze, both work. I'm going to close my eyes. You do what feels more supported for you. And then it's helpful to take a couple just deeper intentional breaths. Maybe a big inhale through your nose and a audible exhale out through your mouth. It might be the first time you're actually pausing in your day. And then allow yourself to just be. Just be. Take one more big breath in. Maybe one more big audible sigh out. And then invite your eyes to reopen. All right, well, you're all expert meditators now. Congratulations. Thanks for having me. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's talk. Our time is valuable, right? You put aside an hour for today. So the best way to have a meaning, to get the most out of this hour, is to have a honest conversation. And I promise you, you won't offend me. Talk to me about what that minute and maybe a minute and a half was, about 60 to 90 seconds. What did that feel like for you? And there's no wrong answer. I'd love for people to come off mute and share. I think it's good to hear other voices. And then it reminds us we're not alone.
I thought that that was actually pretty great. And I never do that. So, like, I noticed that there were times when I actually wasn't thinking about anything.
That's great.
15 seconds, 20 seconds, I wasn't thinking about anything. And then all of a sudden, I was thinking about everything.
Everything.
And then
Nothing to everything.
and then I might like not really be thinking about anything again, and then it would like come back again.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks for sharing that, Jen. My mind had a hard time slowing down. Yes, I guarantee you, Reese, you were not alone in that. Anyone else?
I heard sounds outside that I don't think I've ever heard before.
Yeah. Charlene, I can't tell you how many times I hear that. Not just that, like I heard sounds that I like were obviously there before, but I didn't realize. Or I felt something in my body that I didn't know, right? Like I was like, oh, I have a pain in my neck or on my back that I was not aware of before. And it makes you think, right? How many things are we missing when we're not paying attention, right? Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone's mind go to thoughts? I'm curious to hear, like, what are some of the thoughts that came up in your mind?
like everything. Like, oh, the kids have a swim meet later. Oh, my
Yes.
mom's called me 5 times and I still haven't gotten back to her. I've got a meeting after this is over. I need my
Yeah.
nails done.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So you felt moments of this, Jen, right? There were some moments of that piece, like, oh, wow, I'm actually just here in the present moment. And then there's some moments of that, right? And this is all normal. What happens is that sometimes when we have all those thoughts, we think we're doing it wrong. And if you get nothing else from this time together today, you're not doing it wrong. Actually, congratulations, because you have a functional brain, right? Your brain's job is to create thought, right? It's an automatic function. Think about your stomach, how it digests food. You can't tell it to stop. Just like your heart, its automatic function is to pump blood. You can't tell it to stop. And you don't want those things to stop. Our brain's function is to create thought. Now, our thoughts go to the future. That was the swim meet. That was the I gotta call my mom, or it goes to the past. Oh, I should have said this a different way to this person, or if I just emailed that one person, they would get here on time, right? So we go to the future and we go to the past. All normal. What this practice is, it is not about perfection. It is not about Zen and floating off into like space and lighting incense, which used to what people thought it was. It is really about being present. First, noticing when you're in the future, noticing when you're in the past, and then choosing to refocus your attention to the present moment. How many times has anyone in an organization, maybe someone you worked for before, you've had a conversation, you've gone to them with something important, and you're having a conversation with them, and you know they are not with you. They're somewhere else. I see you're shaking your head, Charlene. How does that's happened to you before?
Too many times to mention, yes.
And how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel like I'm not as important as other people or other tasks that that person is doing.
Yeah. And the sad thing is right, it probably wasn't even intentional, right? It may have been intentional, it may not have been intentional. More often, I always just walk around life thinking people are doing the best that they can. And it might not have been intentional, but it left an impact. Are you more likely to go work with that person again or go to them and have a conversation if you feel like you're not being heard? No, right? We want what people want, our organizations, our customers, our clients, our colleagues, what they want more than anything is to feel like they are seen, they are heard, they are understood. And a mindfulness practice is the key to all of that. So we know, and really, I think what we're starting to see is a shift. And the reason why more organizations are really wrapping their arms around mindfulness, I mean, you have Google, companies like Google putting meditation rooms in, and you see them at airports now. A lot of my meditation clients will send me pictures from airports, like there's a yoga studio and a meditation room in the airport. You're seeing more and more companies and organizations embracing this because of the neuroscience, right? We now can scan the brain and see the impact that a mindfulness or meditation practice has. We know that our thoughts are real, like they're measurable. That doesn't mean they're necessarily true. There's a difference there, right? We can have real measurable thoughts that are not true, that are false and negative, right? So, but we know that they are true, they're measurable. What we know from a consistent meditation practice is two very tangible things happen. One, the amplitude of those intense thoughts gets lessened. So we're not as reactive. And the time, the space between those thoughts expands. And that space, what that represents is the power to pause and respond rather than react. We're constantly in this fight or flight state where we're reacting, putting out fires. And the neuroscience around what happens when you go from meeting to meeting to meeting, from fire to fire. And there are not even, Microsoft Lab did this amazing study around just putting 5-minute slots in between your meetings, right? So more and more companies are now going 20-minute meetings or 50-minute meetings so that there is that built-in downtime between. Because what happens in the brain is you're less engaged and your stress levels, your cortisol levels spike when you're going from meeting to meeting. So the goal, it's important to understand, if meditation is not stopping your thoughts and just learning how to observe them so that you are aware and present, we have to remember that when we sit and our mind is all over the place, that's not an unsuccessful or a bad meditation. In fact, I would almost argue that it's more productive when your mind is all over because you're still choosing to stay. So if we're not trying to stop our thoughts, what are we actually doing when we are trying to be mindful? And we're going to talk a little bit too about the words meditation and mindfulness and what the difference is and how they're connected. Because if you're sitting here and you're thinking, this sounds great, but I know that I will not sit in a meditation, the good news is this work is still powerful because meditation is just one form of mindfulness. There's lots, and we're going to explore that. So even if you're like a little resistant, you're not sure, like, I don't know if I can sit still for 5 minutes a day. That's okay, because it's not the only way. So when we're practicing mindfulness, what is it that we're doing if we're not trying to stop our thoughts? Well, we're observing. So often people hear of breath. Have you heard that before? Like, focus on your breath. And that's just because it's always with us. Has anyone done any of the apps, the guided apps, Calm app, or, there's lots of great strategies out there. Kathy, you want to share a little bit of things that you've used before?
Yeah, I've used Calm. I've used right now I'm doing Positive Intelligence, the PQ app, and it actually is helpful because it gives me some structure
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do it and a good reminder too.
yeah. Having those little tools and strategies are great. And I love apps. Like sometimes I'll use sleep meditations. Has anyone ever done like a sleep meditation at night? That kind of helps calm me at night. But the important thing is that those are great tools, but you don't always need them, right? Everything you actually need, you already have. You can sit and you can focus on your breath. Your mind's going to wander. And instead of judging it, I used to imagine two buckets in my head when I would try this in the beginning. And I'd be like, oh, that's future thought, right? I'd hear swim meet or groceries or what am I making for dinner? or, what employee do I have to onboard, right? I hear all those things. I put that in the future bucket. And then if another thought comes up and it's like, oh, I forgot to tell this person in my meeting this morning, oh, that's past. I just kind of put it in a bucket. The minute you label it, sometimes it loses a little power over you. So you observe, you watch your mind wandering, you come back to your breath. Your breath is like, think of it as an anchor on a boat. The boat drifts, right? You're going to drift future, you're going to drift past, but your breath is that anchor to come back to the present moment. Right? If you take one deep breath, you're back to the present moment. So the hardest part, I think, of this work is that last circle. I think we practice this our until our last breath is observing all this without judgment. And I will tell you that I think the biggest benefit of this work is learning how to replace judgment with curiosity. Right? It's getting curious about what we're feeling and thinking. And then when you start practicing this every day with yourself, you get really good at practicing curiosity instead of judgment with others. And people feel that, right? They feel like you're curious about them, that you want to hear, you want to support them. So we're going to try it again. That first time was a little bit quiet on purpose, but we're going to try it again. Now that we know we don't need to stop it, and it's normal for your mind to go to the future, to go to the past, that's all normal. What I want to try now is just, again, a very short practice where you watch all that happen. And I have a teacher that says, you just smile at it. You just notice, look, there's my monkey mind. There's it's working. Good. And then you take a deep breath. It might be helpful to say future or past. It might even be helpful to say inhale as you inhale and silently say exhale as you exhale. Having like a word can be helpful, but try to let go of it being perfect and let it be messy. So I'm going to guide you through a little bit more this time. Sit up nice and tall. Again, if you want to shrug your shoulders or circle your neck, either inviting the eyes to close or lowering your gaze. I tend to start with a deeper breath, almost like establishing that anchor. But eventually you want your breath to slow down and be gentle, be organic. It takes a focused mind, a concentrated mind, to feel your subtle breath. See if you can trace your breath in and out of your nose. You might even explore breaking up the breath even further, thinking of it as 4 parts. So notice your inhale. And there's a pause right at the top. Maybe you hold the pause for a breath or two. Then an exhale. And there's a pause at the bottom of that exhale. And then the breath starts again. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Pause. Try that a few rounds. Good. One more big breath in. And let it go. When you're ready, invite your eyes to reopen or bring your focus back to the screen. Okay, how did that one feel? A little different? Was it easier? Was it harder? Breaking the breath up into 4 parts. Love to hear from someone if you want to come off mute.
I thought the breaking it up into the 4 was pretty good, actually. It just gave me something to like to follow. And then I actually stopped thinking about my thoughts because I was thinking about the rhythm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was thinking about the pattern.
Yeah. Love that. Anyone else? Did you notice the future and the past? Did you see all that coming up?
No, but I did kind of, as I was doing the breaking it up, I was kind of like visualizing up, over, down, kind of like a square. There you go.
There you go. It's like we're on the same page, Charlie.
That's so, yeah.
Right. And so we were moving towards box breathing or square breathing, which is a really good tool. And we didn't necessarily make them even. Some people like to try to make the 4 parts even. And for some people that doesn't work, right? I like to say an in recovery perfectionist. And I'm still working on it, right? I think when you're a perfectionist, you're always trying to beat that. But sometimes the numbers trying to make them when I think they have to be even, it stresses me out. There's lots of counting meditations that people do. Sometimes there's a one that we do in one of our programs that's a counting back, where you count back by 2s. You're still breathing and then you switch to 1s and you start at 50, you try to get to 0. And that takes a lot of focus. For some people, those number and those counting meditations are so helpful to help quiet the mind when it's really active. And for some, to find what works for you. And what works for you right now in your life may be very different than what works for you next year or 10 years ago. And that's why this work is always happening, because we're always evolving, right? Everything is changing always. So yeah, the box breathing or square breathing is another great strategy. And the good thing is that you don't a lot of times people think like, oh, I want to start this new practice. I want to dive into meditation. I got to go away on a 10-day meditation retreat. It's not that easy. But you can do 2 minutes of box breathing or mindful breathing in between meetings, and it has a huge impact. A lot of the science, the research, when we look at how a mindfulness and meditation practice affects the brain, is around 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day seems to be like the number, but you might hear that and go, wow, that's a lot. And it's important to understand when I start coaching people on developing a habit, we start at 3 minutes, nothing more than 3. Because you have to master, like anything, you have to master the art of showing up before you can, enhance a habit. You have to develop a habit. So we start with 3 minutes a day. And we all, if we're being honest with ourselves, have 3 minutes a day. It's just about, establishing something that works for us. But what we see is when you have a consistent meditation practice, the parts of your brain that deal with stress, the gray matter in your brain that deals with stress starts to shrink. And the parts of your brain that deal with empathy and compassion grow. And if you look at any of the leading research and topics around what makes a good leader, it's not how smart you are. What makes a good leader is how you connect with people. Empathy makes a good leader. The ability to listen, to make an impact, to have a positive impact. These are the things that actually matter in our organizations. And how do we develop that? It's hard, but this is one of the ways. I'm going to show you a short clip. Does anyone remember who Dan Harris is? Have you heard that name before, Dan Harris? So Dan Harris was a news anchor on, is it ABC? I don't remember but he was a news anchor. Most people that have a meditation practice, something happened to start that, right? Dan Harris was a news anchor and had a panic attack on live air. Like he was live and it happened while he was presenting. And that was like the little push that he needed to, like, something has to change. Lots of the people we study in our program, something happened and they were like, this is not sustainable anymore. Like, I need to make a shift. But the reason I want to show you this clip about Dan is because he's so straightforward and just tells it like it is. And really explains the concept of this in a tangible, easily digestible way.
There's no way a fidgety and skeptical news anchor would ever have started meditating were it not for the science. The science is really compelling. It shows that meditation can boost your immune system, lower your blood pressure, help you deal with problems ranging from irritable bowel syndrome to psoriasis. And the neuroscience is where it really gets sci-fi. There was a study out of Harvard that shows that short daily doses of meditation can literally grow the gray matter in key areas of your brain having to do with self-awareness and compassion, and shrink the gray matter in the area associated with stress. There was also a study out of Yale that looked at what's called the default mode network of the brain. It's a connected series of brain regions that are active during most of our waking hours when we're doing that thing that human beings do all the time, which is obsessing about ourselves, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, doing anything but being focused on what's happening right now. Meditators not only turn off the default mode network of their brain while they're meditating, but even when they're not meditating. In other words, meditators are setting a new default mode. And what's that default mode? They're focused on what's happening right now. In sports, this is called being in the zone. It's nothing mystical. It's not magical. You're not floating off into cosmic ooze. You are just being where you are. The cliche in self-help circles is being in the now. You can use that term if you want, but because it's accurate, it's slightly annoying, but it's accurate. It's more just being focused on what you're doing. And the benefits of that are enormous. And this is why you're seeing these unlikely meditators now, why you're seeing the U.S. Marines adopting it, the U.S. Army, corporate executives from the head of Ford to the founders of Twitter, athletes from Phil Jackson to many, many Olympians, scientists, doctors, lawyers, school children. There's this sort of elite subculture of high achievers who are adopting this because they know it can help you be more focused on what you're doing, and it can stop you from being yanked around by the voice in your head. My powers of prognostication are not great. I bought a lot of stock in the company that made Palm Pilot back in 2000. That didn't go so well for me. But having said that, I'm going to make a prediction. I think we're looking at meditation as the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told people that you went running, they would say, who's chasing you? Right now, if you tell people you meditate, and I have a lot of experience with telling people this, they're going to look at you like you're a little weird most of the time. That's going to change. Meditation is going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like exercise, brushing your teeth, and taking the meds that your doctor prescribes to you. These are all things that if you don't do, you feel guilty about. And that is where I think we're heading with meditation, because the science is so strongly suggestive that meditation can do really, really great things for your brain and for your body. The common assumption that we have, and it may be subconscious, is that our happiness really depends on external factors. How was our childhood? Have we won the lottery recently? Did we marry well? Did we marry at all? But in fact, meditation suggests that happiness is actually a skill, something you can train just the way you can train your body in the gym. It's a self-generated thing. And that's a really radical notion. It doesn't mean that external circumstances aren't going to impact your happiness. It doesn't mean you're not going to be subject to the vagaries of an impermanent entropic universe. It just means you are going to be able to navigate this with a little bit more ease.
Yeah, I love the term like in the zone. Did anyone watch the past Olympics? Do you remember the person who did Steven who did the pommel horse? Did anyone remember the men's gymnastics team? And that was his only role. So he was waiting around the whole time, and they showed him meditating. We could think about all of the anxiety that comes, like, all right, it's gonna end up on all the pressure. We have all these pressures in our lives, whether it's how do I get all my kids everywhere they need to be, or how do I make my employees feel supported, and how do I get everyone to buy into the mission of what we're here to do? There's so many stresses in our lives. The ability to learn how to sit and observe and pause and respond without just blindly reacting is such a powerful tool. So it's important because, again, we talked about meditation and mindfulness. What is the difference? I just want to make sure that we're all clear on this concept. There are probably things that you already do in your day-to-day life that help you become more mindful. What are the things that recharge you? What are the things that you do that you like, okay, this makes me feel better, this refuels me, this recharges me? Would anybody be willing to share some of those?
I exercise regularly.
Yeah.
That's something that's a non, it's just a part of my day.
Yeah. Exercise. Does anyone like to walk or run or hike?
Running. Yep.
Running, yeah. I like 10 minutes of sunshine. Yes. There are things that you are probably already doing that are building this muscle of mindfulness, right? Being fully present when you're running or when you're out, if you can feel the sun on your face, that's mindfulness, right? Not just sitting outside and then working and doing all the things, but can I be fully present with what I'm doing? A conversation, right? A lot of times I'll tell my clients, okay, I want you to practice meditating while you're folding your laundry or doing your dishes. Can you be fully present in those mundane tasks?
Putting your phone down.
Yeah, putting your phone down. And they say even having the phone out face down in a meeting sends a message to the person that they're still not, even if it's face down, just having it visible can create a disconnection. So understand that, this is about giving you tools. We're reminding you that it's necessary for you to take time for you, whether it's 5 minutes midday to get the sun on your face, or whether it's being really intentional with your 3 workouts during the week, right? That's a non-negotiable for me. That's all mindfulness. Meditation, I believe. Does anyone have, one charger in their house that charges their phone, one of those superchargers? It's you have that fast charger and everyone's fighting over the fast charger. You know what I'm talking about, Jen, right? My kids fight over the fast charger. Who's got the fast charger? I look at meditation as the fast charger to mindfulness. Is it the only way? Of course not. but I strongly believe a meditation practice is the fast charger to your mind, to being more mindful. The problem is it's hard, right? It is hard to sit still and feel everything, because what you might feel is a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of discomfort, and that's okay. I think our society has to get better at learning how to be uncomfortable. Because the second we're uncomfortable, we try to do things to not be uncomfortable. And of course, that's human behavior, right? But the ability to train, it's mental training. Sitting still for even 5 minutes, when your mind is wandering, when you feel like, oh, I have an urge to call someone, or, and staying in it is the grittiest thing you can do. It is building grit. Another leadership trait that we explore in our training, that's like, how do you persevere? How do you build resilience? Right? Everybody says you got to be gritty. You got to have a growth mindset. You got to be creative. This is the tool for you to practice all those things, is being able to sit in discomfort. Think about when you go to the gym and you build muscle. We're actually tearing it down, right? We don't go to the gym one time. I wish it was this simple. We don't go to the gym one time, lift some weights, and then look in the mirror. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm buff now, right? It takes time. It takes time. And that's one of the things, which is why people have a hard time staying with going to the gym or staying with a meditation practice, because you don't see the results instantaneously. We're so used to getting instant results. This work takes time. People are like, how do I know it's working? I'm like, in the moment, you don't, because it's practice. Sitting still is practice. When you know it's starting to work is when you catch yourself outside of your seated meditation practice. When someone says something that triggers you, or you get an email that triggers you, and instead of firing one right back, you remember the power of that pause. And you feel your body reacting, but you choose to take a breath and say, I'm going to respond tomorrow when that initial chemical reaction is out of my body, and when I can be sure that the response I show up with is going to be productive in the long run for all of us. Now, how do we create a habit? If you have not read Atomic Habits, it's not a meditation book. Has anyone read Atomic Habits on the call? You have, Kathy? Yeah. Jen, fabulous. It's like a must read. Put it on your list right now.
On my list.
It's
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits, James Clear. So it's not a meditation book. It is a book that I believe every leader should read. I tell my clients to read it in January every year. When you create these goals, you create a vision, a mission. Atomic Habits is about learning how to start or stop a habit, any habit, meditation, the gym, whatever it is you're trying to do. But he has these really great tips about, like, how do you make a big thing, like, how do you get started? Well, first you have to be intentional with your time. You got to put it on your calendar. Whether you pencil it in or you block off the time, you got to make time for it. If you don't make the time for it, it's just not going to happen. So, I know that working out is good for me. I don't enjoy it. Some people like it. I don't. I'm miserable every time I go to the gym, but I know it's good for me. So I have to be extra intentional about blocking it on my calendar and following through with it, because I don't enjoy it, but I do know it's good for me. So holding true, putting it on your calendar. Also I tell my clients, stack it to something you're already doing. So if you have a routine in the morning and you have a cup of coffee every morning, do we have any coffee drinkers on the call? Yeah, that first cup of coffee in the morning, maybe I have a chair in my living room that I never sit on unless it's in the morning with my coffee. Like, that's my morning coffee chair. And find a habit you're already doing and stack it to that. So I'll tell my clients, do 3 minutes before you have your coffee. Take the coffee, which is an already established habit, whether it's brushing your teeth or going to the gym. Take the already established habit and stack the new habit to it and make the established habit the reward. So if I do my 3 minutes of meditation, then I get my coffee. So, you're creating systems, and that's what that book is all about. How do I create a system for success? And he says, every action, every little action is a vote for that person you're trying to become. So you want to start small. You don't have to I'm going to start meditating. So I'm going to go on a 10-day meditation retreat, or I'm going to take silence for a week. No, start small, 3 minutes a day. And the biggest thing is you have a streak. I'll have my clients, they'll be like, oh, I meditated for 5 days in a row. And then the weekend comes and they fell off, and they'll be like, I fell off. And I'm like, great. And they're like, no, I said I fell off. And I'm like, great. Now we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to begin again. This is grit. This is growth mindset. This is resiliency, because we're going to fall off in anything we do. How do we look at that? And instead of beating ourselves up for falling off or failing, how do we learn from it? Okay, well, I noticed I had it when my weekly schedule, was routine, it worked. And then because my morning was different on the weekend, I didn't do it. So where can I put it on my weekend? So you start to use everything as a learning opportunity. You get curious. And that's when you can start doing that in your business, when you see those challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, this is what up levels you, right? And when you can start to get your team to see this, that every quote unquote failure is just a first attempt in learning. It's how we grow. It's how we evolve. So that's really the basis of this work. What we're going to do the next session that we meet, and, we have years of programming that I'm going to give you the highlights of too in the next session. But we look at how a meditation and a mindfulness program practice really tunes in all of these leadership traits that are so important, right? How do we use this now to create balance? How do we use this to connect? How do we use this to be more effective at what we do? What I would love is for you to challenge yourself. Try it out 3 minutes a day. Be intentional. Even if it's like, okay, I'm not going to sit and close my eyes on a chair. Can you take that 5-minute break midday to get the sun on your face? Can you listen to this foreign concept. Can you eat lunch disconnected from your computer or your phone, right? Can you have a technology-free morning where you do this? I always tell people, if you're going to really try this out, take your 3 minutes before you open your phone or your email. Why would we say that? What happens when you open your phone or your email? What happens when you open your phone and your email? How do you feel?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're already behind. You already feel behind, right, Charlene? You already feel behind. So really giving yourself to take the time for you before that starts, then you are being intentional and you are starting your day rather than your day kind of running you. What's a beautiful thing is we have services, free meditations that you can take advantage of. They will be linked in that resource document. We offer 2 meditations daily, 6:15 a.m. for your early morning risers. You can come in your pajamas, your robe. You can even keep your camera off. We have a live teacher on Zoom that leads a meditation every morning at 6:15. And then we also offer midday breaks because it's important to have that midday break. We know from the neuroscience. So we offer a live Zoom meditation every day at 12:30. These are free. They are open to anyone. We want to get everyone these tools of practicing mindfulness. So look for those in that resource document. we have a few minutes left. I would love to hear either questions or takeaways. Maybe something like you knew already, but it was a good reminder, or something that you are taking away from maybe hearing the first time today. Would anyone be willing to share? And thank you to those of you who have unmuted and share. I think it's good. We do have, you can, if you're looking for more resources, you can always sign up for our email list with our, our the services that we have, but would love to hear at least one person to give a takeaway. Kathy?
Yeah, I love how it's so easy to incorporate meditation and the concept of not judging yourself when you fall off, and kind of just keeping up with that practice, and this idea that it takes time, and the things that you equate it to with lifting weights, and setting those expectations for yourself, so that as you go into it, you can replace judgment with curiosity. I think that's a really powerful thought.
And you know what, Kathy? I think that's so beautiful. I've also lately, I've added another kind of word to the end of that, because for so long, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to replace my judgment with curiosity. And my practice lately has been, I'm replacing judgment with curiosity and compassion, right? We're so hard on ourselves when we're trying to do something new. And think about the patience we have with others, with kids, with people, but can we find that same compassion for ourselves? It's such a, it's our life's greatest work. It's our life's greatest work.
Yeah, I think this is just fantastic, Lisa. Thank you. I think this work is critical to how we're showing up on a daily basis, and using it as a baseline to kind of understand, like, where are we? Where are we today? Where I am today in terms of my mental and emotional stability, what's going on with me. It might be different than tomorrow. So checking in with myself to kind of know, like, where is my baseline? Where am I?
Yes.
On a continuum of balanced to very imbalanced, so that I can then course correct and make adjustments. We check in with our doctor, to ensure that we're okay physically in certain ways, like this is like a check-in,
Yes,
in my mind, that we need to do. So this is very relevant to me.
Yeah. I really appreciate you all being here. Please, Jen, you'll get that resource document that you can share with the group.
I will.
We really look forward to diving in some more with you next time.
Thank you, Lisa. The next mindfulness session will be on November 14th. If you all are getting the email blast from VP Circle, it will be in the November events email. There'll be an email that comes out for November and December, what's going on in November and December. So the invite will be in there with all of the details. I'm just going to share my screen really quickly as we depart. Just a couple of things, if everybody can see my screen. So if you enjoyed this event, please take a look at our website. If you go to www.vpcircle.com and then click on What's On, you'll see a full calendar of everything that we have scheduled between now and May. And we're in the process of adding a few more events as well. So if you enjoyed this, if you want to know what else is going on, please go to vpcircle.com. What's on. The date for the next event is on the calendar. It's November 14th at noon. I think that's a Thursday. And then just a quick note about our next event. So next Tuesday, we're holding an event about AI, about artificial intelligence, and just the changing business landscape, trends, what executive leaders need to know, why is AI still so misunderstood. That's going to be featured by VP Circle member Anthony Colson, who's an executive technology leader, and he'll be joined by Ganesh Ariyur, who's vice president of enterprise applications and technology from Gainwell, Asim Williams, who's a technology leader for Google, and Pete Petrocelli, who's Vice President of Technologies for Ashley Furniture. So really excited about next Tuesday's event. It's an evening panel discussion. So if you're interested, please join us. And again, on behalf of VP Circle, thank you for joining. If this was your first event with us, thank you for joining this afternoon. So everybody enjoy your day. And I will make sure that the resources get emailed out to everybody.
Great. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.